Welcome. Thank you for sitting down and telling me about Avalon and Stir Crazy.
Thanks.
Joanne, can you tell me a little bit about how this got started?
Yeah, hi, I'm Joanne Cancier, and myself and a group of 13 other women decided that because of the pandemic that we wanted to contribute to the community. And so we sat down as a group and tried to figure out how could we raise funds for Avalon Center. I mean, we sort of felt that during the pandemic with everyone home that this was really going to be an important need. So we're thrilled to have Leslie here, and she's going to talk to you. She's from Avalon Center, and she's going to tell you about what it is that they do and why it is that that they're in such need of help.
Yeah.
So before you get there, you mentioned that you're supporting Avalon. In what way are you supporting them?
Well, we're just a group of retired women who decided that we wanted to give back to the community. And it's helped them, and I think it's helped us a lot because
you're doing a fundraiser, right?
We are doing a fundraiser.
And can you tell me a little bit about the fundraiser?
Well, what we've done is we've put together sort of a crazy offbeat cookbook that is actually sent through the mail. So we figured that nobody wanted really a cookbook, but we were getting bored of our own cooking, and so we thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if we, if we could send out recipes? So we.
And how many recipes have you accumulated?
We accumulated 230 recipes.
Oh my lands!
From 93 people, including 11 public officials. Who, yes, we've gotten them from the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general.
Of Virginia, I should say.
Virginia, yeah. From both of our senators.
So bipartisan as much as you could.
We're
coming together through cooking, right?
Exactly. It's exactly. And so, so we collected these recipes, and then we've been grouping them in the cutest little terms like let us eat cake and don't stew about it, and sort of cute things like that.
So you decided to help Avalon, and
Yes.
for those people who might not be aware of what Avalon is, please introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about Avalon.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Leslie Jingleski. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Avalon Center. Avalon Center has been around for 40 years, and we are a domestic violence shelter, emergency shelter. We have counseling services, we have legal advocacy groups, we have an array of services that I think a lot of people don't know about. We service Williamsburg area, we service the Middle Peninsula up through Gloucester, Matthews County, all those areas.
So when a man or woman who is in, or child I would imagine, is in a non-desirable situation, they can pick up the phone and just call you?
Absolutely. They can visit us at avaloncenter.org, and we have our helpline numbers and everything that they need to call, and we will run from there, and especially for emergency situations, we have help out.
So you're 24/7?
24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
And how has COVID actually impacted you?
So COVID has made it very difficult for domestic violence survivors. We like to use the term survivors. They are stuck at home. A lot of times we say safer at home, but unfortunately in those situations they're not safer at home. They're stuck at home with their abusers. So we are seeing a tremendous increase in calls for those kids.
And tell us about your fundraising efforts.
So fundraising this year has been tough. 2020 has been tough on everybody, and these fundraising efforts just haven't happened. We've got them canceled over and over again, obviously to keep people safer. So a lot of our events have moved to online things, but we really have suffered this year as far as being able to get the normal fundraising efforts that we do.
So I just want to tell you that that you can reach us to help them at recipes.stircrazy@gmail.com.
Okay, wait, I'm really slow and it takes me a little bit. So can you say it really slow for those that are from the hard South?
Yes, okay. It's recipes.
Okay.
.stircrazy.
Stir Crazy.
With no space in between, just
Okay,
stircrazy
all right.
@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Yes.
So recipes.
Recipes
Dot.
.stircrazy @gmail.com.
Okay, I think I have it.
Okay. Well, the reason that we really wanted to share that with you is that we're taking this book that we have been doing through subscription and we're making an ebook out of it. And so for a minimum $35 donation directly to Avalon Center, because we don't touch any of the money, you would get a link and you would be able to cook, for example, with your family. Let's say you gave them a gift of this link and you had the link, and then you could both pull up the link at the same time and you could be cooking.
Oh wow! So we could actually Zoom and have, you know, you could have your nieces or nephews or your grandparents or your mom or dad or brothers or sibling on a Zoom call, and you could all share a meal off of your recipe and actually donate to a wonderful cause that's in need.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that says it all.
So I want to make sure you get a link and you have access to how many recipes?
200, well, we've actually sent out 167 recipes. We got 230 recipes, but there were some duplications and, you know, things like that. So we've actually sent out 167 recipes, and they're just organized. The art is beautiful. Margie Starling has been doing production for us, and the art is just fabulous. And I mean, they're fun. It's just not a black and white page. They're a lot of fun, aren't they?
And the recipes are amazing. They really are.
So, and you know, if I were to contact you,
Yes.
do you send out some sort of flyer or kind of advertisement for this that I could put on my Facebook page and share to my friends, so that if somebody in Utah or Maine or Florida wanted to, you know, contribute?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just say, I want to also talk to you sort of about our sponsors, because not only did we have the 11 public officials, but we had 3 restaurants in town that have also been of tremendous help. A Chef's Kitchen provided 17 recipes for us.
Wow.
So, and those are, you know, really special. They're, you know,
They may be above my head.
they're over the top, but they're really fun. So we have 17 from Chef's Kitchen. We also have Emerald Thai has given us, so we've gotten a little bit of international flavor. And then King's Mill donated, and of course they provided this beautiful facility for us to do this.
And how nice for the corporations and the restaurants around to support Avalon and the local community.
We cannot
Kudos
do
to you
this.
guys.
Yes, we cannot do this without our community. Our community rallies around Avalon, and they are amazing, and we can't do it without them.
So if you have John Gonzalez and Kings Mill and a few other places, and you have recipes for the experienced gourmet, as well as those of us who just like to make chocolate chip cookies.
Joel Page from King's Mill really encouraged John Sexton, the chief, to send us something called Duckaroni. And originally it had all of these little things, and so I have to say that we sort of, I'll say, smooth them out a little bit. So there's nothing, you know, we didn't want like, you know, a quarter of a teaspoon of this and a quarter of a teaspoon, and, you know, and French and this and that. We've sort of made it for things that we could understand, you know.
Well, wonderful. And thank you for sharing. Is there anything else either of you would like to add?
No,
I think you can go on our website at avaloncenter.org, and there's a link there that has all of the information. So if you get lost in the shuffle, you can always go to avaloncenter.org and you'll see the links there.
And one last time, if I want to pay $35 or more, because you'll take more, right?
Of course, absolutely.
Then I go to
recipes.stircrazy@gmail.com.
Hey, I think I got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Lois Polifka with Stir Crazy Ladies in Williamsburg. Today we're going to do a smoked salmon cheesecake. Cheesecakes are egg-based, so they need to go in the oven slow and low. And so we'll put the oven on at 325. And cheesecakes need chilling before you serve it, so the ones we're going to eat today I made yesterday. It's a little bit of effort, but it's a great dish. So we're going to start with the springform pans. Today I'm going to use this large one. Yesterday I used 2 other sizes, but the large one is the one that the recipe talks about. So you pan the springform pan, and then you sprinkle the cracker crumbs, about a half a cup, and I just make sure they're evenly distributed. The next thing is we cream the cream cheese, and it has to be soft before you begin. So I've already done part of it because it can take up to 5 minutes to make it soft and fluffy. What we do is we put 4 eggs, one at a time, into the softened, fluffy cream cheese. So I'm going to do that. I need to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure it's evenly whipped. Okay, now we're going to take the bowl off of the mixer. I scrape down the sides again, and then we start adding the ingredients. There's a lot of ingredients in this, and you can, if somebody in your family or who you're making it for doesn't like one of the ingredients, what you do is just leave it out, add something else. For example, some people don't like green bell pepper, so what I would do is add 2 colors. Instead of the red and the green, I'd add red and yellow or red and orange. So here we begin. The Monterey Jack cheese goes in. It is 1 cup of the cheese grated so that it's easy for the stuff to blend. Then we have 1/2 cup of cream cheese. And I'll blend this here in a minute. It's already pretty blended by the whip mixer. Okay. So now comes the veggies. We're going to put in the red onion that's been chopped fine. We're going to put in red bell pepper, chopped fine. Green bell pepper, chopped fine. Stir that up a little. Now, the next thing is the salmon. I've cut it up. It calls for 4 ounces. If I have 5 ounces, I just put it all in. It doesn't make any difference if it's a small amount of extra. The last 2 ingredients are our spices. So the recipe calls for dried dill weed. I prefer the fresh. The fresh just smells wonderful. I cut off just the tips. So this is about a tablespoon of fresh dill. And then the last ingredient is cayenne pepper. It's 1/4 teaspoon. And I have found you don't want to put any more than that in there. It can be too hot. So 1/4 gives you that nice warm flavor without it being over hot. Most people won't even know you did it. This smells delicious already. Okay, so I take the pan and my oven is ready. So I just pour this into the pre-prepared pan. And I like to get it all because all these ingredients are wonderful. And that's what my mom taught me anyway. So here it is. I don't know whether you can see this, but that's what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to put it in the oven. 325. Now this cooks for a long time. It's 325 for 45 to 50 minutes. This large, it may take a little longer than that. What I do is use a toothpick, just like we do with a cake. I go to the center of the cheesecake, pull it out. If it's clean, great. Once it's finished, the 45-50 minutes, this is a springform pan, so it's easy to loosen it. But my point was going to be, you open the door and let it cool, inside the oven for 30 minutes or so. You want it to be cool. Slow, low, cool prevents the cracking. So then you take the springform pan and you run a knife around the outside. This helps loosen the cake from the pan. So if you're familiar with a springform pan, the spring's open and your cake then is on the pan. You have to let the cake completely cool before you put it in the refrigerator. It needs to be refrigerated overnight or 24 hours before you eat it. And then you take it out 1/2 hour to an hour before. You want it room temperature when you eat it. So it's served at room temperature. Here's what it looks like. I cut a piece out of it, and here's the plate and the like an hors d'oeuvre. So the other thing is, yesterday I made a very small one. This freezes exceptionally well. So I made one this size, that's the 6-inch, and I made 2 of the 4-inchers. And I put them on cardboard rounds like you use for a cake. And it works great because you can move them all around. So that is it for smoked salmon cheesecake.
Hi everybody, welcome to the kitchen. We're in Kings Mill at the Estate Kitchen, so it's fabulous. My name is Cheryl Connors. I'm here today with another Stir Crazy member, Mary Beach. So what are we making today, Mary?
Well, since it's November now and cooler days are upon us, we thought we'd focus on a nice stew. So we have a Brunswick stew recipe that's actually from Cheryl's mother, and we're going to cook that up for you today. Also, Cheryl has made a wonderful cornbread that is from a recipe from John Gonzales, who, as many of you know, is the owner of Chef's Kitchen. And I just want you to know that you can find both of these recipes in our ebook that's coming out in December.
Yes.
So,
All right, well, let's get started, Mary. I know that last night you cooked the chicken in the broth, so we're just adding things into it. And this is kind of a small pot, so we're not going to put everything in case you're worried about that. Okay, let's go.
okay, so what you do first, and the recipe has this, you start out with whole chicken, or in this case I use chicken breasts, and the quantities are listed in the recipe. Took the chicken breast and 4 cans of chicken stock and just simmered them for about 45 minutes to an hour until the bones were coming away from the chicken breast. Took the chicken breast out, let them cool a while, and kept the broth simmering. And then when I could, I chopped up the chicken, and it's ready to be put back into the broth along with all the ingredients, and then we'll be good to go.
Well, just like TV chefs, we prepped everything. So
Absolutely.
it's going to look so easy. So we'll start with adding the chicken to the broth. Next is the tomatoes, and this was one of those big cans of plum tomatoes that we just broke those apart.
Okay, this will be a little messy. Since the pot is small, I think I won't use all of those.
Then everything else goes. We've got potatoes.
About 2 cups, I think. Chopped.
Yeah, we don't even.
But we might not get them all in here.
Ham in this version of Brunswick stew. Not everybody does that.
That's something new to me. So I'm looking forward to that.
You can have rather, smoked ham, regular ham, doesn't matter.
It's already looking good, Cheryl.
All right. That
Now
tomato is so powerful, so let's get that in the broth. I mean, the onions.
The onions. Oh, we want the onion. Absolutely.
We have okra, frozen sliced okra. Now, not everybody likes it, so just leave it out. just like any of these ingredients. So this is
This is really a forgiving stew. You can add, oh my goodness, carrots, celery, all those things are good. I sort of clean out my vegetable bin when I'm making
I
it.
know. Here's the baby limas. You want to see how much we fit?
I think that's enough of it for now.
And the same with the white corn. We use
White sheep head.
Yeah, usually you would put in like a 10-ounce bag. I think these are 12-ounce, so.
We're winging it.
Yeah.
And that's great because you can do that.
Mm-hmm. That's it, except for salt and pepper, and this is your BAM moment. Do it, say it, Mary.
No, I'm busy.
All right.
Okay, now this is ready to put over on the stove. We would simmer it. We'd bring it to a boil and then let it simmer about an hour. Or to tell you the truth, I just let it simmer as long as I have. In fact, I like to put this into a crock pot and just let it cook slowly and be ready, you know, when people are coming in from a walk on a cold day or coming in from the ski slopes or whatever. It's really nice to come home to a crock pot full of Brunswick stew. So this is all ready to be cooked. When we're ready to serve it, we do stir in about 3 tablespoons of butter.
So it's lovely.
So,
But you don't have to do
so that it,
Yeah.
so that we can get some extra fat.
Yeah. So Mary, you know 2020 has been so stressful.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I don't know, it just seems like 2020 will become the new catchphrase for everything messed up and bad. So, how was your day today, Mary?
Total 2020. You know what
Say
I
no
mean. I know, Cheryl, and just all the new focus on things we never thought of before. I mean, women now can say, "Oh, Cheryl, I love your mask. Where did you find that?" Who would have thought?
Oh well.
Okay.
The thing about the soup, Mary said, is really forgiving. And in our recipe, we say add the corn and the lima beans last for the last 15 minutes.
Right. Now, don't cook it to death.
That's for people who don't like it mushy. Mary and I like it mushy. So we add everything at once and cook it to death.
You know, they say Southern cooks cook their vegetables to death. So I guess that's what we are.
do. Did we leave anything else?
I think we've got everything in here, and then I do happen to have a crock pot full over here that we could, maybe you could ladle some out so they'll see what it looks like. And I'm going to move this back here since we're not putting it on the stove just now. Want me to cut a wedge of this?
Sure. It's very colorful, even though it doesn't have carrots. And plus, check out these gorgeous plates. Oh. Okay, there we go.
Oh,
Chef's
let's
Kitchen
put this
cornbread.
right there.
Let's eat.
Hi, I'm Margie Starling from Stir Crazy in Williamsburg. We're supporting Avalon Center, and thank you for listening. Anyway, today we have a special treat for you. In addition to our regular recipes, we have a treat for Fido, your favorite dog. And it's called peanut butter and pumpkin cookies. Now, it's very simple. We start off with 2.5 cups of whole wheat flour. We have 2 eggs. We're going to start with 1/2 cup of pumpkin. And then we have 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, oops, and we have the piece de resistance, the peanut butter, 3 tablespoons. Now we're going to mix this all together, and you're going to add some water, maybe as much as you need so that you can actually mold it, and then you can lay it out. We're going to roll it out. We're going to make cookies, so you can use your favorite cookie cutter. This is for your big dogs. This is for the small dogs. You can keep it festive, whatever your season you want. And anyway, then we're going to put it in the oven. 350 for 40 minutes until they're nice and hard. And then you're gonna bring them out, let them cool for about 45 minutes. Don't let your dog burn his mouth on hot cookies, all right? And when you're all done, this is what you're gonna get. Some really nice cookies. And this part is the desserts, which we've had each week a different theme, and we've had 3 weeks of desserts.
Yum.
Yeah, the first one was cutie pie, which involved pies, and then we had let them eat cake, which had some scrumptious cakes and cheesecakes. But the final one was sweet endings, which is a sad way to finish up a cookbook because we made a lot of new friends with her.
So are sweet endings just all section of cookies?
Well, it's kind of all the other types of desserts besides pies and cakes.
Ah.
So we decided that maybe you needed something easy that you'd like to do, maybe with your kids or your grandkids, and we're going to make buffalo chip cookies.
Okay, the buffalo immediately makes a big chip.
Oh, yes. And so that's the idea that we're going to have some big cookies.
Oh well,
Yes.
I'm salivating as we speak. So what's in a buffalo chip?
Well, in buffalo chips, since we're making big cookies, we need a lot of ingredients. You know, we've got 4 sticks of butter. Now, if you don't want them quite so flat, you might do half of that in shortening, and it'll make it a little thicker.
Do you need a butter that has salt or unsalted?
This
or
is
does it
unsalted.
matter? Okay.
Yeah, because we're going to be adding salt, so you don't need to use salted butter. And the reason that they get a little flatter with all butter is that butter has a lot of water in it, so it steams, and so times some of your baking goods end up a little flat. It's because of that steam being removed from the
I learned
ingredients.
something new.
So if you add shortening, you don't get quite that.
So half
flat.
and half?
Half and half would be the recommendation, yes.
Somebody actually also told me about adding applesauce. Does that actually work?
Applesauce.
Maybe? No. Okay.
Just as a substitute for a fat.
Okay.
Just like you could also avocados, and that would give you a different flavor.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's the oils in it. So we have butter or butter and shortening, and then we have 4 eggs. And we're going to do 2 cups of brown sugar, 2 cups of white sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And this is what we're going to call creaming our wet ingredients. And then
So you
we're
mix them all
gonna-
together?
You mix them all together. Right.
Until they're really soft, right?
Till they're thoroughly mixed. You don't want to over mix stuff.
Okay.
And you also want to make sure that the butter is at room temperature as well as the eggs. So if your eggs, and all of a sudden you realize that you forgot to pull the eggs out, a quick thing to do is put them in a bowl, and then use really hot tap water, not boiling water. And within about 15 or 20 minutes, they'll come up to room temperature.
Oh,
so
no.
that helps.
Thank you.
Then we're going to add our dry ingredients, and our dry ingredients involve 4 cups of flour, and then we have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2 teaspoons of salt.
Okay, I have a question right away because I see all-purpose flour and then self-rising flour.
If you have self-rising flour, you're not going to be using the baking soda and baking powder. You really need the all-purpose if you're going to follow this recipe.
Okay.
Okay, that makes a difference, and that's a good question. In addition to that, to make some of the nice texture in our cookie, we're going to add 2 cups of crushed cornflakes. Which
Crushed?
You need to crush them before you measure them because
Yeah, it makes a
like
difference.
2 cups of cornflakes is probably going to come down to about a cup. And then we're going to add oatmeal. We're going to add 2 cups of oatmeal. And don't use the steel cup because that's too small. You want the texture of just the quick oats. We're going to add a cup of nuts, chopped nuts, and we're going to use walnuts because that's what my husband wanted.
But you could use
You can
pecans
use
or whatever,
pecans,
okay.
hazelnut, cashews, whatever you like, whatever is
Okay.
your favorite. We're going to add 12 ounces of chocolate chips. Ordinarily in a chocolate chip cookie recipe, I use the mini ones because I like to have a lot of chocolate chips, but we're going big, so I recommend using the regular chocolate.
Okay, now again, milk chocolate, dark chocolate,
It
what?
doesn't matter,
Okay.
whatever you prefer. And if you want, you could substitute half of them with something like a candied M&Ms for the colors. And see, I separate them between the oranges and
That
fall.
looks like Reese's Pieces.
Well, it could be Reese's Pieces, but these are actually the M&Ms. So I separated them out, and Ended up with a whole bunch
So
of
you
blues.
put all that into the wet ingredients.
Well, what we're going to do first is we'll have the wet ingredients. And then what I like to do is I take the all-purpose flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, and the salt, and I mix that together, whisk it together so it's all equally.
Right.
Then I'm going to add the flour mixture to my cream butter with the sugar, cream sugar butter with the vanilla in it. And after that is all mixed, usually about a cup at a time, then we're going to add these additional things, the corn flakes, the oatmeal, the nuts, and
Do they actually make it into the pot?
most do.
Unless I'm around.
Yeah, and we all like to try to snitch some of that cookie dough, but you're really not supposed to because it's raw eggs and raw dough.
Should you be preheating the oven at this time?
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to preheat it at 350, and they're big cookies. Recommend using either parchment paper or like a silpat mat so that it's easy cleanup. And you're going to bake it for about 15 minutes until the edges start browning. They'll continue to cook for a couple minutes, so when you pull them out, let them cool for about 3 to 4 minutes, because the centers tend to be a little soft, and then you can put them onto the cooling sheet.
So you have mixed all the ingredients in there, and now what?
Well, instead of your usual cookie scoop, which is about a teaspoon to 2 tablespoons, we're going to use an ice cream scoop. And that's the secret of making a buffalo chip cookie.
Oh my lands.
Yes, so here we go.
So do you have to cook it longer if you have
Yes,
a bigger
you do.
Okay.
This is about 15 minutes, plus or minus like 2 minutes. Anywhere between 13 to 17 minutes. Keep an eye on it. It's at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you're going to let it cool a little longer than most cookies. You're going to let it cool for about 3 or 4 minutes before you put it on a cooling rack.
Oh.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay,
Go for it.
So we've got our first one, and we're going to kind of leave it there. If you happen to be using gluten-free flour, my recommendation is really to refrigerate it for about 30 to 40 minutes before you put it in. That'll keep it from spreading out too much. So we have done our cookies, and through the magic of videotaping, we have a finished product here. And here are some wonderful buffalo chip cookies. As you can see, they are really big, they're scrumptious, right out of the oven, and they do smell heavenly.
Oh, they do. I just have one last question for you. Is that, can you add different ingredients to this?
You can, and that's what the nice thing about a cookie. You've got to keep with the basic recipe on the butter, the sugars, and the flour, and the baking powder, salt, and baking soda. Those are the chemistries that allow the cookie to rise and all that. But the other ingredients, you could add coconut, you could change the type of nut you like, you could add different types of candies, you could put raisins in if you really are a raisin lover. Oh, I can see you're a raisin lover.
I am guilty as charged. And I know that a lot of times they'll go 10 to 12 minutes, and you said 15 for
Yes.
this. Is there a way for the novice to look in to see whether is it when it's crusty around the edge? Is there some trick to the trade that I don't know about?
Usually browning around the edge and maybe just a little bit on the top, because just like anything that's in the oven and comes out, it still kind of cooks for a little bit. Just like your meat, you'd like to let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes because it's still cooking and it allows the juices to get back into the meat. Cookies just need to cool off, but you need to keep an eye on them. And that's the reason, like if you're watching any of the cooking shows, you can see that they're keeping their eye on them.
Well, I will be glad to keep an eye on those cookies anytime you'd like.
Well, you're welcome to. Ooh, I've got a cookie snatcher here.
This is the best part of the job. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed our demonstrations today. We're very proud of what we've done. We hope you'll help us support Avalon Center, and you can reach us at recipes.stircrazy@gmail.com.